Okay, this one, I have a lot of information to share with you. There was reading of court documents, and there was a lot. So I'm going to try my best here. It is something to do with Logan Paul, and it's also something to do with the crypto world, which I normally struggle with, but I've tried my best. And I've done a little bit of work, and I'm going to come and process everything with you. Now, first of all, does anyone remember when Logan Paul was exposed? I think mainly by like CoffeeZilla for the Cryptozoo and the Cryptozoo lawsuit. Who remembers? Oh my God, you remember. Hooyah, Navy! Yeah, so CoffeeZilla, had basically done this entire video about Logan Paul's Cryptozoo lawsuit. If you don't remember it, I'm going to debrief and get into the entire situation because basically the lawsuit has been thrown out by a federal judge, which is really interesting. And there's so many things that I want to get to with it. First of all, I want to say that if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please consider subscribing. So many people that watch are not subscribed. I know YouTube has unsubscribed a bunch of people, and also people watch who aren't subscribed, and we're getting so close to 500k, so please, spare some subscriptions, please. And also, my Patreon discount worked really well, so I've just continued it, because honestly, if you're able to get it for cheaper, and it's also a big support, and we're also we're almost at 6,000 members now, which is insane. Thank you guys so much. It's a big support of me being able to continue doing this. But basically, if you use the code YouTubeMucker altogether, you will get 30% off my discount off my Patreon, and you will get it for cheap. And we're also doing our November videos now because we're in November. We're going to be reacting to the Ruby Frankie Devil in My Family documentary. We're also going to be reacting to Escape the Night Season 4, and we're also going to be reacting to Michael Weiss TanaCon documentary. But if you subscribe, you will automatically get access to me reacting to Trisha Paytas' Big Broadway Dream, me reacting to Escape the Night Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3, and also me reacting to Beast Games Season 1. But that's not all, because that's just the series we've done, and there's a lot of other things. Anyways, all right, okay. So let me pull up my notes. So basically, if you guys don't remember Logan Paul's Cryptozoo saga, it was in 2021, Logan Paul announced the Cryptozoo, which was basically pitched as a fun game that will make you money to his audience, okay? Now, that is so important to note because his audience are kind of like the crypto boys, and I would assume, in my opinion, a little bit young as well. So whenever your favorite influencer who you see flaunts wealth is basically saying, you get to play a fun game and make money, you're like, yippee! You know what I mean? That's why these things work. Now, basically, how it would work would be that users would buy NFTs. Thank God, the NFT craze fucking... You know what I mean? Thank God. So they would buy NFTs, but they would be like these little eggs via Ethereum, or basically like dedicated tokens. So many words here, but I'm trying my best. They were zoo tokens. And basically these NFTs, these little eggs, would hatch into animals. They would breed hybrids, and they would participate in the ecosystem of the game. So basically like a fun little game, if you will, but it's all, like crypto, right? So Logan Paul, whenever he was, advertising it, was basically bringing a lot of excitement towards the fact that it was going to be fun and it was going to be a game. And he was really, really, really hyping it up to his audience. And because of him blowing this fucking up, as you can imagine, the demand was out fucking rageous. Hatchimals for animals, who waste their money with fucking crypto shit. So he had been bigging this up, promo tour, going crazy. And then ultimately, the game failed to, materialize. The game failed to, come about. So basically, what had been completely promised by Logan Paul didn't actually come into fruition. And it's important to note as well that not only were the core audience that had, spent all this money really angry, but the people that had, invested in the game were super let down. And obviously, this turned into a really, really, really big problem. So basically, another thing to note was that the NFTs were also being accused of literally being stock images, allegedly, as well. And basically, it seemed to very much so get abandoned. But what's important to note is that people had invested so much money into this, and Logan Paul promised something, and it was seemingly not being provided. So many people were saying that they lost thousands of dollars. One example was, someone saying that the game just didn't work, but they had invested, $3,000 into it. Now, basically, what happened after that? So, in 2023, a class action lawsuit was filed in Texas, which accused Logan Paul Cryptozoo Incorporated and others of fraud, breach of contract, and unjust enrichment. And basically, this was referenced whenever I saw this article by Top Class Actions as well. So basically, the complaint was saying that it was basically marketed to an audience that weren't familiar with kind of crypto as well, and basically that the game was not what it was supposed to be, false advertising, all of the rest. I know, shout out Texas. I miss Texas. I miss my little cowboy hat. I had so much fun at Texas barbecue. Oh my God. Basically, that people were losing, so much value and so much money, and also that there was kind of like this alleged like rug pull, like a pump and dump as well. And we've talked about that. I hate the pump and dump. I think of like, it sounds like sex to me, like pump and, you know what I mean? Like I've heard that terminology in gay culture. But pump and dump, right? So it's also important to note that Logan Paul himself filed a lawsuit against two of the project's co-owners, who were Eduardo and Jake, claiming that they misrepresented their experience and basically that they were just like bad people. And on top of that, Logan Paul also like threatened to sue. Did he sue or did he threaten to sue CoffeeZilla? CoffeeZilla. So basically, we talked about CoffeeZilla, right? We talked about CoffeeZilla. We watched his videos, and he basically made this an extremely, big deal. He brought attention to it. He was able to dissect it, and this is a big reason that people are shocked about this being thrown out, considering his videos. So here's what happened. In 2025, which we're currently in now, it's important to note that, this lawsuit has been going on. It was filed since 2023. Threatened but didn't sue. Okay, so there were threats, right? So basically, there was, the plaintiffs are basically, getting like really fucked over here. So the U.S. Magistrate Judge Ronald C. Griffin recommended that nearly all claims about Logan Paul be completely dismissed because the complaint didn't properly show that he personally benefited or that his statements were the reasons for the loss, which is crazy to me, by the way. It's crazy to me. So it was, when was the actual date again? Hold on, I have it. October 30th or 31st, so literally just like 2 days ago, it was the federal judge granting Logan Paul motion to dismiss all 27 claims against him. In that case, all of them. All 27. Oh my God. All of them. So basically, Logan Paul is now cleared of in this particular class action, well, for now at least, for at least all of the claims. Now, first of all, I just also want to clarify as well that it's so important to note that, like, a lot of people are always wondering, like, what is a pump and dump? So, pump and dump has been around for a very, very, very long time. And, in the crypto world, it has really had, like, a resurgence. Again, it was a thing of a long time ago, but, like, it's really coming back in the crypto world now. So, basically, the idea of it is, like, the pump is, like, Logan Paul, essentially, like, the influencer, getting people involved, hyping something up, and whether that be an NFT, a coin, a crypto thing, whatever the fuck, a token in this case, usually in the sense of like promising a lot, like a fun game that's going to make you a lot of money, or, guaranteed win or guaranteed success or something like that, basically that they're going to put, like, Logan Paul, this is his next big project, so this is why you would want to support it. So the pump, the support, and this gets huge demand, which basically means that the price of everything skyrockets. And then the dump is once that, audiences came over and it's now at its highest, like, inflation price, basically the people, the investors who, got all this hype and started the hype, basically, like, sell all of their holdings. So basically it's worth its most because there's so many people involved, and that's when they're like, and they get rid of their stock, fuck over everyone, but then they make so much money. So pump and dump. Mucker coin, mucker coin, mucker coin. Me knowing a different definition of pump and dump, and that's where I was. Well, yes. Basically, it's very regular. This happens in crypto. I remember, like, seeing in, like, CoffeeZilla's video, because it's, the crypto world, I guess, is, like, so new in the grand scheme of where it's at right now. And it's kind of like the regulation is not the greatest. And also, like, social media hype can, like, really influence things. And also, if you have someone like Logan Paul who's a dedicated fan base, then, of course, a pump and dump is going to be, like, incredible. So basically, it's important to note that in reference to the pump and dump that people are accusing Logan Paul of, whenever, the courts are saying that Cryptozoo is not a pump and dump. However, people like us have our own opinions of it. And you can have your own opinion. I know what mine is. Mine is, Logan Paul and these other people, really heavily promoted this project, which in my opinion kind of gives pump. And then, investors and so many people poured in money, and then the thing didn't really provide. And then we see, the price is tanking and investors left. And it just kind of, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it couldn't really be considered like a technical pump and dump, but it's more so like the audience invested all this and didn't get anything off of it. So that to me is just something really important to know. But anyways, more so into the case being dismissed, right? So again, a federal judge in Texas has granted that Logan Paul's motion to dismiss the class action lawsuit against Cryptozoo is basically like they're allowed to throw it all 27. The central reason for it is that the plaintiffs failed to sufficiently show that Logan Paul made misleading statements that caused directly the financial harm. So that's crazy. They're basically just like, well, Logan Paul, we can't put everything down to him. It's like almost like a level of like never having like a responsibility. Now, before the dismissal, it's important to note that a magistrate judge had already kind of recommended that it be thrown out, but now we're actually seeing again a couple days ago that they're like, all 27, babe, you're done. Congratulations. So again, this, like we said, was going to be a game, a fun game, but just never came into really fruition. And that was from 2021. And now we're dealing with the lawsuit that's, getting dismissed in 2025. Now, what's interesting to note here, which is what I was seeing, was, the idea of it being dismissed means that the particular claims in the lawsuit were thrown out as filed. But that doesn't mean that it can't be refiled, which I kind of can see this being refiled. I can kind of see, because throwing out all 27 is crazy, but it kind of shows that the judge isn't, like, on the side of the plaintiffs, if you know what I mean. Like, they're not really in good standing right now. That's just something really important to note. I don't remember Dink Doink. What is that? Classic example of how the legal system can be bad. Yeah, I mean, this is shocking to me. I didn't think this was going to happen with it, specifically when we were covering it in the moment, by the way. Now, it's also important to note that this doesn't mean that, Logan Paul, didn't lose money or, wasn't involved in these things. It just means that the plaintiffs, like, didn't have a good enough, like, legal case, at least in what they filed. So anyways, Cryptozoo is now, something that'll permanently kind of affect Logan Paul's reputation. And if he is going to argue that, like, these people fucked him over as well, I guess it doesn't matter that it happened the way it happened, which is just unfortunate. Like, I wish there was more restrictions on people being able to just, like, invest in these things or promote them to their audience whenever they're clearly not doing enough research. You know what I mean? So that's just really frustrating to me. So anyways, again, some of the quotes that I was seeing going through it is literally them just saying the plaintiffs have not demonstrated that defendants' conduct caused their losses, which is interesting. He said the plaintiffs could amend the complaint except for one claim to try fix, things that, like, deficiencies. And also I'm reading what the judge has said here. The judge is honestly just saying that this is, I'm really shocked at this. I really am so shocked that it's honestly just immediate dismissal for not sufficiently alleging it. I really can't. I really, really, really can't. So the issue basically is that they aimed the lawsuit at the wrong person, that Paul wasn't the main person. I think so. They're like, well, you can't blame Logan Paul for this, but I just don't think that that's acknowledging how much, like, he was, like, actively promoting this. You know what I mean? That's what's just so frustrating. That's really, really, really frustrating. And then you people being like, is CoffeeZilla gonna apologize? Like, that's just so crazy to me. So again, Judge Griffin is really just kind of standing by this as well. I really don't know. I don't know. So anyways, again, if you want to a sum down is 2021, it was basically launched and announced. it didn't fulfill. 2023 was when the class action lawsuit was filed. And then in 2025, Logan Paul has now really been able to just kind of walk away, clean his hands, and no responsibility. All right, what the hell? Sure, this is definitely very disappointing. It's another example of like an influencer like really not being, you know, held responsible for the platform and influence that they do have, because again, I, in my personal opinion, think people like Logan Paul don't, you know, promote things like this just out of the goodness of their heart or wanting their audience to enjoy something. That is just my opinion. I believe it has more so to do, in my opinion, with, you know, making money off of your audience and exploiting them. And whenever I'm seeing a court completely just side with them, I'm like, just because they were the face of it but not the organization, yeah, it's nuts. All involved should be held accountable. This is a class issue unavoidably. Yeah. I'm worried that this will give Logan more grounds to sue CoffeeZilla for defamation. I'm going to need to go back and watch my video on that. Or sorry, CoffeeZilla's video on that, because I don't necessarily know if it affects anything he said, because again, so much of what, in my opinion, he was saying, it's been a while since I watched the video, was like clear as day. That's why I'm so shocked that this is so easily being thrown out, with the responsibility not landing on Logan. It feels a little bit weird to me. It feels a little bit weird to me. But anyways, we will leave it there. So that is the update with Logan Paul's Cryptozoo. Basically, these influencers, you know, get to engage in things like this, either make a lot of money, don't make a lot of money, get to like allegedly, you know, in my opinion, just like gamble, you know, with if things are going to be successful. And unfortunately, it's the people that support them that lose the money in the long run. It sucks. Maybe this is why people shouldn't just fucking invest in anything their favorite influencer who they see as rich, you know, do, and then be like, I'm going to be rich too. Yay! The world doesn't work like that. Like, it literally doesn't work like that. And we'll leave it there for now. All right, everyone. That was crazy. That was crazy. Dismissing all 27? All 27?